So today I am joined by Dr. Cary Goulston, President of the Global Pioneers and the International Educators Association. Dr. Cary Goulston is an ambassador and an award-winning international educator and humanitarian. He has provided educational community improvement programs for people, youth, students, educators, doctors, parents. I mean, I could go on, but I won't. He and his international pioneers and groups have trained over 3 million people, including providing free educational materials across the globe. Dr. Cary has been awarded by the US President with the highest award for volunteerism, called the US President's Volunteer Services Award, 3 times. Each time is for 5,000 or more volunteer hours per year. So within all of that work that he's doing, I must say a very big thank you for taking time out of your clearly very busy schedule to be with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a real honor. It's a pleasure. I'm just happy to be here.
Fabulous. Well, first of all, why don't we start by really just giving the listeners a bit of an understanding of what the Global Pioneers and the International Educators Association does? What is their mission and their purpose?
Awesome, Rita. Thank you. All right. So very simply stated, global, obviously international. So we're running educational programs in 40 countries or more, give or take, from Africa to Pakistan, from Nepal to Brazil, wherever there's a need or a reach or interest in improving communities through different ways. And those community programs, just to add a touch of that, the community programs touch on anything that the community needs help with. Could be drug education. There are drug problems happening. Could be human rights. We help people with literacy, which is being able to read and write at a higher level. So we work from orphans all the way up to training professors, doctors, government people. We've trained everybody. So Global Pioneers is we're bringing new tools, we're an education humanitarian group. That is really what we are. So we bring these common sense, these life improvement programs to community leaders, religious groups, boys clubs, girls clubs. It doesn't matter. No race, no color, no creed. It doesn't matter. And, we bring these programs, we train, we provide free materials and access to these kinds of programs that are needed. And as far as the International Educators Association, from seeing the need for more help in education, even more specifically for educators, teachers, tutors, people that are involved with education, we formed the International Educators Association more specifically to help educators by providing tools for teachers. Again, it's very similar to our international programs that we're having great success with. It aligns with that, but more specifically, we train teachers and educators, even parents are educators, by the way. And there should be parents associations. Honestly, in my humble opinion, we should have parents associations in every country, in every state, because parents are they have a big job and they have tremendous pressure, and it requires more than just even being a cook. If you work in a restaurant and you're a chef and you go to a restaurant and that chef isn't doing quite the job, you physically could get ill. So we require from our professionals a level of expertise. And the better the profession, the better people are at doing something, the more success you're going to have. And parenting is a profession. It's so important to know how to deal with children, and if kids are screaming or they're running around and you're having issues with teenagers. They want to be independent. They're doing things that parents don't like, or the kids don't listen to the parents. And there's issues in the family life. Even in the United States, by the way, 50% of marriages end in divorce. That's outrageous. That's just not okay. So you know that in relationships, marriage, family that breaks apart, that's rough on the children.
Mm,
So we also do train parents, but there should be parents associations. I think it's so important to provide tools for parents to help their job be much easier, just
mm,
like teachers deal with so much in trying to educate those young people. They're not paying attention. They don't come to school with enough sleep or having eaten properly. They're playing video games too late. This is the number one thing that's happening out there right now, at least from my observation, is that kids are a little bit out of control with the internet, and that can affect their schooling, their state of mind, their mental state. There's too much videoing and too much internet can really cause problems. And in the current age we live in, we don't necessarily have the tools to deal with all those challenges. And therefore, training is so important. Tools, books, videos, these are all very, very important. And if you have information that works, then of course, you're going to want to get out there and spread it as much as you can. And that's what we're doing.
I love the fact that you focus on education as your primary tool because, yes, knowledge is power, but only if we are then empowered to use that knowledge as well. I think, you spoke about parents, and most parents know they have the knowledge that reading a book is fundamentally more beneficial for their child than a video game, but they're not actioning that knowledge. Fundamentally, they know that a salad is probably a healthier choice than a McDonald's, but they're not actioning that. So it sounds like you really are someone who takes the bull by the horns and gets in there and wants to make action and change. So where did this passion come from? Why did you start doing what you do?
Uh, well, do you have many things that inspire you or influence you? We all do. Some people they just want to help.
Mm,
And some people, um, you run into something that works, then you want to share it with others. Uh, my passion for helping people has gone all the way back to when I was very, very young.
mm,
And I wanted to be a psychologist till I found out psychology doesn't work. Um, I just wanted to be somebody that helps other people. Even trying to help myself, I grew up in a very difficult home where there was a lot of fighting and there was alcohol and there were some really serious problems growing up. That for some people can ruin their life when you have so much trauma at home. That can cause some pretty long-term mental damage,
mm,
meaning, you have trauma and you end up having a lot of stress and negative emotions.
mm,
And so taking care of the mental health, which I don't like saying that word very much because it got a bad name from certain professions that hurt people with mental health. Meaning, I don't believe solving your negative emotions is best done with drugs and alcohol. I don't believe that. I've had way too much success not using drugs to help people solve unwanted feelings, sensations, and emotions. I have tremendous success doing it naturally with simple tools. Um, I grew up in a very hostile environment. Um, that when it helped me to want to help people more. But I already love people and I already want to help them already. Um, it's just I don't know, it's a natural thing that I've had,
mm,
that I just really love seeing people happy and seeing children doing well. And I like to be happy. I don't like to be miserable. I don't like to be depressed. I don't like to be afraid of what's going on, afraid to go out of my house. I don't like to be angry. I hate myself when I get negative emotions or people get under your skin or some bad situation happens and it triggers something. I
mm.
don't like myself when I'm doing things that are irrational. And all of us, that might have been the wrong grammar. All of us all of us are subjected to life's tension, stress,
Mm.
uh, emotions. Somebody driving and runs you off the road, or somebody steals your wallet, or somebody steals your phone, or something very precious to you gets taken away from you. We are all of us subject to life's pressures.
Mm.
And how do you deal with, handle, eradicate, get rid of these things that are big balls and chains, weights on your head? People actually get headaches. You get so much pressure, or you have somebody in your life that's giving you so much trouble. And you have to walk around every day with these things in your mind or on your back. You see in movies very often people drinking their way out of a bad situation to relax. Go home, have a drink. I mean, I've talked to so many people who have drink every day just to relax. And that's alcohol numbing you up, getting rid of the stress through a toxic substance, a poison. It's poisonous. You drink too much, it's poisonous. You go to the dentist and you have your teeth drilled. You don't want to feel the pain, so you get a drug called Novocaine. That's very common for people. Or if you're having a baby and you don't want to experience that tremendous trauma and pain of that baby coming out, you get what's called an epidural, and that's a chemical. And I see the need for drugs in certain circumstances. When you're getting an operation, when something really severe is happening. But people take drugs for mental thoughts, negative thoughts, emotions, past experiences. That's called the mind. That's mental. Not that you're nuts or crazy. You're not mental. You have mental dealing with thought or the mind or experience. You have negative emotions that get worse as we get older. And they have that word called mental health, but really it's become such a bad thing because they use drugs and shock treatment and horrible barbaric ways to try to help people, which don't help. What helps is a natural way to alleviate the stress of living from yourself, your thoughts, from your experiential track of going through day to day. You have an argument with somebody, or you get hit by a car, some bad things happen to us. So these accumulate in the mind as painful experiences, and there's techniques to alleviate that without drugs, hypnotism, without some artificial means. Alcohol is definitely being used as probably the most common way to deal with unwanted feelings, sensations, and emotions. Something bad happens, go get a drink. Let's go get drunk. People younger associate feeling happy and feeling yourself and dealing with the pressure by partying. That is so common with our young people, that let's go party. Well, really what that is let's go do drugs. And you hear about drugs and you see drugs all around us. And that's what our young people are subjected to. Even my parents smoked marijuana and drank alcohol. I'm embarrassed to have to say that, but it's true that many of us are surrounded by drugs and get caught up in that. Some people harsher drugs. Some people get into medication or speed or some kind of painkiller. And these things are poison and toxic to the body. And they may have a medicinal or medical use, but to use that so you can live at all and not re-experience trauma from the past is no solution at all. So not having a solution, is so easy to get a bottle of wine and just sit here and drown my sorrows in some alcohol, which numbs you from the pain you're experiencing from the past. It numbs you like no pain. But it isn't a solution, not long-term. And a personality gets worse. Somebody's taking drugs every day, you'll see their personality deteriorate. Their mental capability deteriorates. Their ability to solve problems deteriorates. All of their reasoning functions, their attitude, their emotions, these drug experiences that they're having every single day become little pieces of pain, because toxic substances are pain mentally and physically. So cells are dying. That's what's happening. Cells are dying and a person is deteriorating. So not having a good solution, we get desperate. Not having a way to relieve this stuff from us, we get desperate. And I think it's more important to have health mentally than
Mm,
probably any other thing, because it leads to what's called psychosomatic illnesses, meaning people just start having physical problems because they've had so much trauma. We've heard the word psychosomatic illnesses. I promise you, I've trained a lot of people. They
mm,
don't really know what that means. Your first thought when you think of psychosomatic is, I'm making myself sick. It's not true.
mm,
It's past trauma, past bad experiences reactivated by the present over and over and over and over till the person's immune system, their body breaks down, and they start having actual physical reactions from those past painful experiences.
mm.
And what's good news, because I'm sure people listening to this are probably getting a little depressed. So my apologies for if I'm making anybody um, feel unhappy. I want to let you know there's solutions for this that are very simple that you can do right at home. And I'll give you one solution right now to alleviate the immediate stress of living, which we all go through. And where you don't have to take alcohol to feel better. The first thing you can do, and can I show a book or no? Or is that okay? I
Yeah.
show a book. Okay, so in a book called The Way to Happiness by American philosopher and educator Ron Hubbard, Mr. L. Ron Hubbard, this is a non-religious common sense book. It's called The Way to Happiness. Actually, this is the hardcover. And it's free. It's a free ebook. So it's just common sense. So fear not. Um, the website for the free ebook, which you can just send to yourself as a PDF, is www.twthdc.org. twthdc.org, free ebook. Send it to yourself. Let me just give you one little tool that'll help really get one over stress. It's so important. You know, you have to talk to people, you have to go to work, you have to concentrate, and you don't want this past stuff just in your face. Um, and as parents, sometimes these emotions can affect our kids. If you're in a bad mood, you're not talking to your children as yourself. The past is right there. So here's what you do. First of all, if you're not feeling well emotionally, if you had an argument or something negative happened, or you just don't feel yourself, you just don't feel good, easy, simple therapy. Go for a walk. And I mean this professionally. After 44 years of counseling and working with people, I mean this professionally. Some of the greatest solutions are simple. If it's complex and little understood, then people can't figure things out. Going for a walk is very therapeutic. You walk outside your house, if it's safe enough, and you look at your environment. Look at the cars, look at the buildings, look at the people, look at the street, look at the sky, look at the trees, look at the flowers, look at the dogs, look at the cats. Just put your attention on the environment. And while you're walking, just look at things. Walk around the block. And I can't say exactly how much time it will take for your emotion to come up out of, let's say you're feeling depressed, which we all go through that almost daily. So you're feeling a little depressed, go for a walk. You'll start feeling yourself coming upbeat. You'll start feeling yourself starting to chill out, starting to feel a little more comfortable and relaxed. Keep walking, keep looking. Don't answer your phone, turn off your phone. You might be rumbling all this argument you had with your husband or boyfriend. It might be going through your head over and over and over again. Just keep looking at the environment. What you're doing is there's a word called destimulation. You're lessening the impact that bad experience has had on you that's replaying over and over again. You're just lessening the impact, and you're starting to get more in the present. We've all experienced an argument and you're still thinking about it later on that day. You go to sleep at night and you're playing this argument over and over and over again like a record player. You're just reliving that past negative experience. That's what you're doing. You're playing it again and again and again. Going for a walk disconnects you. It brings down the stress of the experience and gets you more in the present. So you go for a walk, 10 minutes, however long, till you start feeling really good. And you're like, wow, okay, I feel better. good. Now you can go back to whatever you're doing. If you're at work and you're starting to get stressed because you're sitting at a computer this far away from your nose, or your boss said something, or somebody said something to aggravate you, take a break, put down your pen, put down your keyboard, turn off your phone, and go for a walk. I'm telling you, it is so therapeutic. And if it takes 15, 20 minutes, so be it. It does. But you really, the concentration of this technique that this person developed, Mr. Hubbard, is, and counselors all over the world are using this. I'm not kidding. What this will do is just get you more in the present and kind of make that past negative experience fade away. And you look at things, look at the building, look at the car, keep walking, look at the grass, just keep walking. And I've done this with people who are drunk to get them sober. I've done this with crying, screaming babies and had them not crying in a matter of 60 seconds, just doing that technique of having them look at things in the environment. You diffuse that charged up moment. You feel the charged up moment, the emotion. You're hot, you're angry, you're whatever, you're charged up, right? You want to diffuse that. And going for a walk puts your attention on the environment and gets you out of the bad experience you've had. If you've lost somebody, there's different techniques for different scenarios, but surely going for a walk will take care of a lot of different things. And sometimes taking your friend for a walk, if you have a friend and they just went through something negative, lost a boyfriend, girlfriend, something bad happened, which I promise you, this is, even if it seems like it's daily, we do go through things in life. We just don't have tools to deal with that. So you go for a walk, take your friend for a walk, point out buildings, point out things. Sure. Hey, and they'll just come out of it. And don't turn your phone off. I've got to call my mother, whatever. No, just go look at the environment and it'll chill you out and you'll feel so much better. So that's one technique. And we do so much with people that we provide counselors. Like right now, I'm training counselors, school counselors. I mean, talk about, you have a student come to you who's suicidal, who's depressed, or boy, I mean, people, they get emotional. Teenagers, they get emotional. We get you remember, we know, listen, we know, you remember, we get emotional. And the more bad experiences we've had, the more impact these bad experiences become. It's almost like stacking it up. You have 10 experiences of pain, 20, 50, 100 experiences of negative, and it's just sitting there. I'll give you a great example. Okay, so as a little girl, you had a boyfriend, you maybe, I don't know, different cultures, different. Let's say you're 12 years old, you got a boyfriend, and he says, I'm not going out with you anymore. I don't love you anymore. And he goes away, and the girl's crushed, crying in a room, crushed. Okay, that's one very bad experience that's now in the mind as a memory. Later on in life, 14 years old, has a boyfriend, and he's with another girl. And this triggers that first one. Now you got two moments of loss. And then she gets punched at 17 by her boyfriend, punches her in the face. Now she has three very painful, traumatic memories containing pain and men. Now the subject of men is like a minefield. Now she's 19 years old and she doesn't trust men and she knows they're going to hurt her. And she has these memories that get triggered by anything, a smell, a sound, a voice. Things can just trigger that. Like you smell cotton candy and it takes you back to when you were or you hear a song and it takes you back to when you were dancing with someone. You know, like these memories get triggered in a second. Like a computer, you type in Google and it just says, give me cotton candy, and you get 9,000 entries of cotton candy. So now she's 22 years old and now she has a boyfriend and he asks her to marry her. And then something bad happens. And now you've got 50, all these memories containing pain with relationships. It can happen on any subject. Sports can happen on with food. It can happen. You take somebody who's bulimic and
Mm-hmm.
they just can't stand eating food. You run them through a simple counseling session, and you'll find out that they've had some really, really bad experiences connected with food. Um, any area you have trouble with, that's a minefield. Like if just one little thing happens, you go off.
Mm-hmm.
And you might not even consciously be aware of what it is that's setting you off. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing, past pain, those are unconscious memories. Not easy to go, oh, I feel horrible. Oh, when I was two, I was dropped out of the high chair and fell on my head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these conscious moments, not easy to go, oh, that's why I feel this way. That's why my stomach hurts. So this whole subject is actually very easy to understand, and it helps people to really know what they're going through and what they can do about it. But again, we're just here to provide workable tools, knowledge that people can have and use to keep themselves doing
Yeah.
well in life.
Absolutely. And I think everything that you said about the past trauma and how it builds and triggers, we see this every day in the sense that you might get into an argument with your other half. And actually, you don't even know why you're arguing. It's not you in this present moment. It's a past version of you or multiple past versions who have come out to, have their say. And equally, you were talking about the use of toxins essentially to numb, distract, avoid from the discomfort of every day. I see it not just in alcohol that you spoke about specifically, but even in sugar in its refined man-made chemical form. We see that at the end of aisles in grocery stores. We see it all over the place. We see it being sold in clothing stores, and sugar is being used, I think, just as much as alcohol as a numbing agent. And I just wanted to pick up on one of the things that you said. You've spoken about counseling and the benefits and your use of counseling and training counselors within your foundations. You also stated that psychology does not work. So, for the benefit of those listening, because there's a lot of people who I'm sure have, your remit is all about education. There's a lot of people who have spent a long time and a lot of money educating themselves to be psychologists. So, what would your definition of psychology be, and why do you proclaim that it doesn't work?
Wow, you really go right for it. That's awesome. Great question. The word psychology means psyche, and that word actually is different than what the subject deals with, which automatically tells you that you're dealing with the false subject. But I always tell people, don't listen to me. Do your own research. I do not want to make robots or sheep out of people ever, ever, ever. We need to teach people to stand on their own 2 feet, starting at an early age. We can't do people's breathing for them.
Mm.
So my whole statements that I make is based on my observation and my testing of the knowledge. It really is. Test the knowledge. If it works, it works. If it does, listen, you go to a restaurant one time and you feel worse, you'll never go back again. You buy a shirt or clothing and it tears easily, you will never buy that brand again. I will not subject myself to things that don't work. And I think that's just common sense on any area. Meaning we give people lots of chances and we try something. Maybe it was a bad day for that cook. Maybe their food really generally is really good, but they had a bad day. That's a different situation. But if I go there 2 times or 3 times and it still doesn't work and I feel sick, no, I'm not going to go back to that restaurant. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to bring any friends to the restaurant. Psychology means psyche, spirit. What exactly is that? Like, think about that. What is that word exactly? You're
Mm.
actually starting to step into the area of religion when you talk about the spirit.
Mhm.
But what is that? Regardless of where it falls or where it goes, that's not really the point I'm trying to make. The point
Mm.
is that psyche is spirit.
Mm.
Ology is study of. It is supposed to mean study of the spirit, but yet it is not. And I've studied different versions of psychology. There's things like, I don't know, there's books and subjects and going to school, and we've done that. But, you know, to me, understanding the mind, what thinking, thoughts, negative emotions, how past trauma can affect you, belongs in that field. It should be psychology, but it's not. They don't teach you about that. And you don't get tools for dealing with that. Telling someone to think positively, that could be a method in psychology, but that's not workable for somebody who's struggling with negative thoughts and emotions. You can't just say, think positively. Okay, all right, I'll try all week, and then these bad things happen. You need an actual simple technique. First, you need an understanding of what causes irrationality, and how does your computer work? How does you have a computer and you have a virus? You either know how to deal with it or you take it to somebody who does. You have your own personal computer, which your mind is, and I can prove that. But this isn't the program for proving something right now. But I can sit here right now and we can have a wonderful discussion about exactly how the mind works, make it simple and easy for people to understand. And also the most important thing isn't to sound great, it's to have a tool that you can do something about something. The mind is part of our life. How you feel, how you react, how you think, your ability to solve problems, your intelligence level, your memory, your concentration, your mental energy. You're in the middle of the day and you start like you're mentally tired. You can't do another thing. That we're talking about the mind, bad thoughts, negative emotions. We're talking about the mind. To understand that means to have greater control of your own life and your ability to think the way you want to think about things and the way you want to respond to things. And you don't want irrational thoughts or negative thinking or negative thoughts running your life or happening. I'm no good. I'm horrible. I'm a horrible person. That's an irrational thought. It's not true, but it happens. Or being very nervous or having anxiety. This comes also from these kinds of things come from the past. So psychology doesn't teach you about that. I'm sorry to say that. I wish it did. I was looking for it. I was studying for it. I really, really, really tried. I really wanted to become a psychologist so I could help people. And I studied, and my mother became a child psychologist, went to Tufts University in Massachusetts, a very top college. And I can personally tell you from personal experience, it did not one thing for her. She was not a better mother or understood kids better or dealt with kids better. 6 children in our house. I saw it. I just saw it. I wasn't even being skeptical. I'm just saying I just saw she had no tools. She went to school for 4 years to be a child psychologist. And she had no tools to deal with our kids in our house. And we never experienced any of the benefits of her becoming a child psychologist. Ask any of my family members. And so I can't just use that as the example that, hey, child psychology doesn't work and it never helps kids. And hey, I've never, but I do look at results and do I have something that I can do to fix my flat tire? Do I have something to fix my computer that has a virus? Do I have something that actually works? And you see those results with people happier, more intelligent, more alert, more awake, positive, making things happen. These are all very, very, very real representation of a field of knowledge. If you're a bridge builder and you're studying bridge building, you better get results or people die. So is that what's happening with psychology? Is that have you ever met anybody who's like no longer mentally tormented, or they're no longer suicidal, or the depression or the past trauma? There's no technique. And if there are, I've never heard about them. And if there are techniques, are they working? So let people do their own research. If this was we want people to know about psychology and study it in schools, psychology 1, psychology 2, and this is what people have to study. And then great. But in the US, 50% of marriages end in divorce. It's not helping marriage, not one bit. In decades of teaching psychology, marriages are not improving, they're getting worse. Drug use is getting worse. Human rights violation. 50 million children were trafficked last year. 50 million children. Is the world getting better because of psychology? I wish I could say it is. I haven't seen it. I do. I'm a person, I'm very practical. I like results. I like to be better. I like to be a better version of me. I raised 4 children. How are they doing? Are they taking drugs? Are they prostituting? I mean, how are my kids doing? how, how are my friends doing? How are
Mm.
my friends that are associated with me? How about the kids I trained and the students I trained and the teenagers I work with and the teachers? How are they doing? And that to me is your laboratory of knowledge. Does it work or not work? Common sense. So anyway, I hope I don't want to shoot through holes through your question, but I can only go by what I personally have experienced in both myself and training others.
Absolutely. There's no holes to be shot. It was an observation of a statement. And, it's, as you said, it's everybody's own learning and own awareness and results. Perception to a point is reality. And the more that we observe, the greater level of context we have around our own perception and gives us a better understanding of the reality that we live in. And you have used the word tools a lot in terms of how to enable us to handle or deal with our everyday sort of mental health. And one of the things that I would ask with that is tools are great. Tools are wonderful. A hammer, a screwdriver, a spatula, these are all wonderful tools as long as we know how to use them. Now, in today's society, and this is becoming prevalent globally, not just in the West anymore, we have a culture, a society where we don't want to use tools because we have technology that does it for us. We don't want to use the tool of research, walking to go down the high street anymore. We have Amazon, it delivers the same day. We don't want to use the tools to sit at home and educate our children because, hey, there's an iPad, shove that in front of them. In today's society, we have such a dependency on convenience, on others doing it for us, on dopamine addiction, whether that's from social media, from drug, alcohol, sex, gambling, whatever it might be. So, how do you and your global pioneers, how do you instill people with not just the knowledge of the tools, but the desire to want to use them?
Okay, wonder again, brilliant question, spot on. I really, I just think you show that you have a very high level of intelligence, and I really appreciate that. Very thoughtful question. Yeah, we live in more and more an automated world where the vacuum cleaning is done by just pressing a button and it goes around the room and cleans the room for you, or the dishwasher. I actually prefer washing dishes with my own hands
Mhm.
than sticking the dishes, because the time it takes to put the dishes in the dishwasher, I've washed the sink of dishes. So I actually like washing dishes, although my parents made us wash our own dishes and wash our own clothes. I mean, that was a real positive thing they did, is making us be responsible for our own objects and the
Mm.
things we. I think that was really smart that they did that. Um, Maybe we could have used a little less of what's called punishment drive. If you don't do it, I'm gonna kick you in the butt
Mhm.
and you're punished. I Those are very low levels of controlling people, when you have to use pain and force, excessive force, for people to do things. Um, I think is a very low level of education, as a note. I think using reasoning powers, and people are very impatient today, but using reasoning powers, and that's why I like this book a lot, by the way, is because it's reasoning, it's common sense. Like how you treat your parents is covered in here. Honor and respect, honor and help your parents.
Mhm.
And why do you do that? So there's some real reasoning power behind why you honor and respect your parents, and to think with that and to understand that, to be worthy of trust and keep your word once given. Why is that important? Or to be competent, or to respect the religious beliefs of others, which I do. because I think you're entitled to the freedom of your own practice and of your own beliefs. And that's yours. And who am I to take it away from you or make it less? You like vanilla ice cream. I like chocolate. Oh, so we're going to throw you in jail. So this is a barbaric and an irrational community when you live like that. But this common sense points are set a good example. Taking care of your teeth, take care of your body. To your point, it's all part of what you're talking about is a thoughtful, intelligent, rational individual who can think for themselves and make good decisions. You have a high school student, and I was training high school students in Orlando by the thousands going into the public school system. And I was doing, there were a lot of drugs, and they even had drug dealers in the classroom. They had metal detectors in the front and back door. So they had 5 murders. The reason they brought me in is because they actually had 5 murders in the school in the past 12 months. And so I brought in common sense and I brought in drug education, and the training was done visually as well as lots of examples. But they thought it was okay to smoke marijuana. They're convinced it's okay to party and it's okay to have underage sex and all these things. It's totally okay. Nothing wrong with it. It's happening around me. My friends are doing it. What's the big deal? A well-trained, educated, in the right way, not as you're a tape recorder, you're a robot, but giving examples of these principles and really understanding them to make it your own, not as through force or pain, but through working these principles out. Mm-hmm. and coming to an understanding underneath a low-level society that's killing itself with war, which still happens today, I'm sorry to say. Underneath this barbaric irrationality, people hurting each other, people not knowing how to get along, people dropping bombs on each other because they disagree with certain things, or people trying to steal your land or take this or take that, whatever's happening that's just not very survival and it's not okay. Mm-hmm. Really underneath all that, and from an educator standpoint, you really, really, really will understand this. But as a person who's trying to reach out to millions of people and making a difference, underneath a lot of the problems is poor education. A person who cannot learn, a person who cannot understand, who doesn't learn. So the education on planet Earth, from Brazil to Nigeria, just look at the fact that 75% of the people live on $1 to $2 a day. 75% of the people on planet Earth are illiterate. They can't read and write. Now, I was in Dominican Republic working with the Minister of Education, and I asked, what's the biggest issue you have in your country or that you're dealing with? And the minister said, most of the teachers are not eligible to be principals or move up. So we don't have very many principals, or we have uneducated, not qualified principals, because 50% of the teachers can't read and write. So illiteracy, inability to learn and read and use what you learn and read, starts at a very early age. Good, you can read and you can write, but can you apply it? So education is the big fallback, where if education was better, we'd have saner, rational people. We'd have smarter and more intelligent people. And if common sense were taught in the schools, and we have a children's common sense book, this is in Spanish. I don't know where my English went. I've been giving them up. This is How to Make Good Choices, non-religious common sense book, free ebook. It's called goodchoicesebook.org, goodchoicesebook.org, free. It's in Spanish, it's in French, it's in Italian, it's in many languages. This common sense, which we've trained 2 million children since the pandemic started. Common sense would be treat others as you want to be treated. That's really, really, if you understand that principle, you'll be a very happy person, because you are not treating people the way you don't want to be treated. You want to be treated justly. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be lied to. You don't want people taking your things. These common sense principles allow as a foundation, allow us that foundation to be a high rise, a bridge that works. Our bridge of society is our children and teenagers. If we can't even deal with our own children and deal with those issues in a good way, a successful way, then the foundation doesn't exist. In Washington, D.C., it has the highest murder rate of any city in the United States. Highest murder rate of any city in the United States. Well, what does that tell you instantly? If the most, quote, powerful country in the world and the most powerful government in the world, you would think should be the most educated and the most civilized, the most rational. Well, it's not. And that tells you it's a weak spot, a weakness in our country on the subject of education. We can't even handle our own children. We can't even control our own children. They're shooting each other. They're beating each other up. They're joining gangs. They're partying. They're smoking marijuana. And if your state is legalizing marijuana, I'm sorry, you should go to jail. Because you're just making more druggies. You're making it possible for people to become a worse person, a criminal, or car accidents, or just irresponsible. Marijuana makes you irresponsible. It does. And it opens the door to other drugs. So if you're legalizing marijuana and you're saying our kids can be on drugs and our kids can have car accidents, our kids could be criminals, and our kids could be irrational and not think well enough, and drugs hurt the personality more than probably anything. And so don't take harmful drugs. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And this foundation is a world you can live in, a city that's safe, a city where you can leave your front door open and you can drop your wallet and see it return to you. This is an environment that is created by education or not.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with your sort of assessment there of education is the foundation of the rational and the choice. Rather than living in a reactionary world, we actually get to choose the world, the culture, the society that we live in. And I feel that we could talk about this subject for hours. I feel that we may be having Dr. Cary Goulston back on the show. But for the moment, it's been an absolute pleasure having Dr. Goulston here. Dr. Goulston talked about a couple of books. The links for those ebooks will be in the description of this podcast, as well as how to get in touch with or do some research on the Global Pioneers and his educational association, International Educators Association. So
can I say one thing to end off?
Of course, go for it.
Okay, life has so many important parts, whether it's your marriage and relationship, which is you deal with every single day. And you might have somebody cheating, or you might have somebody who's some issue, not getting along very well. And that's a life skill. We can help people with any area of life skills. We can have a meeting just on marriage and relationships and provide tools for fixing these things up. We can talk about any life skill, how to improve communication, how to deal with work situation, your goals, your teenagers, tools for parents. So we can definitely cover a lot of ground. If that's wanted, then my time is yours.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like we could do a whole series of episodes on different areas that we could cover for sure. But it's been absolutely wonderful speaking with you today. Really fascinating. And a big thank you to Cary, and a big thank you to everybody for listening to today's episode. As always, if you need any details, like I say, all the links will be in the description. In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all on the next episode. All right.